Prepare yourselves for a battle of epic proportions between two titans. Feast upon their voices and revel in their words. This is Dueling Ogres.
Hello, Ogres, and welcome to episode 209. Thank you for joining us, as always, on this avant-garde Friday evening, Earth date March 12th, 2021. It's actually not even evening, it's afternoon. It's 1:03 p.m. in the PMs. I'm your host, Remington Hitchcock, and with me, as always, my co-host, Brandon Full. Say hello, Brandon.
1:03 in the PMs. I am early morning robot.
Oh no, it's early morning robot Brandon. Hello, early morning robot Brandon. How are you?
I am good. I had Fruity Pebbles and pizza for breakfast.
That sounds like a breakfast that only a robot could love.
I had nuts and bolts too. You can't see it, but I'm moving my arms like a robot right now.
I mean, I knew you were. I could feel it through the interwebs.
I don't know why, because nobody can see it, but I'm a talker with my hands. I use my hands a lot whenever I emote.
Listen, that's a key defining trait for a really good voice actor. They get their body into it because it sells it better.
Are you saying that I like to move it?
I am saying that you like to move it.
I like to move it.
I was going to say, but we like to move it, and that was going to bring us full circle, and then you ruined it, you son of a bitch.
I was not programmed for comedic timing.
Oh, boobs. What have you been up to? Apparently, when we first wake up, all we can think about is boobs, because we've made several boob references this morning.
To be fair, you have made several boob references.
What was the one that you just told me about?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I guess we do.
We're going to save that one for the after party. So how have you been, man?
I've been pretty good. Not really up to anything. I haven't been getting my mail lately, right?
Okay.
So it's just not been showing up in my mailbox. So I go down to my mailbox to check and see, because I'm waiting on some paperwork from the government. And I have a letter in my mailbox that's been turned around backwards, so you can only see the white part of the envelope.
Okay.
And the mailman has written vacant on it with an exclamation mark and underlined it. So They apparently think my apartment is vacant, which is why I haven't been getting my mail.
Oh, well, that's dumb.
Yeah, that's stupid. So I go to the post office and I show them the letter and I'm like, hey, I live in my apartment. It's
Right.
not vacant. I've been there for almost 3 years now. And she's like, oh, there's really nothing I can do. Here's a phone number you can call and tell them that you still live there and they'll bring your mail to you.
Yeah.
And I've called that number 6 times now and just no answer.
Yeah, that also doesn't surprise me too much. Did you go to the one in Vienna?
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, they're kind of like me at the UPS store. They're kind of a third-party franchise. So
yeah, that's what she told me, is they couldn't handle the issue there. Yeah. And the number she gave me was for the downtown one.
Yeah, exactly. It's the actual hub of it. You kind of just have to call until somebody picks up.
Damn you, mail carriers.
Curse you, postmaster.
So yeah, that's about all I've been up to. I've still been playing Dragon Quest like I talked about last time we recorded.
Yeah.
That's about it. It's too early for me to think about things I've done.
I mean, that's
1 o'clock in the afternoon is too early for me.
It is. It's too early for me too. I don't start functioning until 5 p.m.
Well, you were up pretty late too.
I was up late. Of course, you were kind of up late as well.
I had woken up. I hadn't stayed up. I had just woken up early and was up for maybe an hour or so before I fell back asleep again.
I hear you. I was working on our stupid website again.
Yeah, what's the issue with our website?
I have a love-hate relationship with our website. So, in case anybody happens to go to it and you're experiencing some like loading issues, basically, there's just something funky going on with my SSL, which for those of you who don't know what it is, it's Secure Sockets Layer is what the SSL stands for. It's a certificate for a website that says that it has been deemed safe to do things like purchase on, as far as I can understand it. That one's getting
Okay.
a little bit out of the purview of like what I know about web stuff. And to be fair, I don't know much because I've taught myself everything. So, and you only teach yourself the things that you need to know about in the moment.
Right.
So, there was a recent WordPress update, and I don't know if they did anything funky with that, but it's just all of a sudden it was loading everything slow, and it was having like an inordinate amount of HTTP API calls, which there's always a fair number of those anyway, but it was taking those things forever to actually load in. So I don't know. It was really weird and just kind of out of nowhere after the update. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but I talked to tech support last night for domain.com, which is who hosts our website. And as much as I don't care for Domain the service, the tech support is usually really good and helpful and willing to dig in and help me out. Now, that being said, I've talked to them enough and I know enough to be dangerous. So I'm usually really amicable and friendly and have a pretty good idea of what I want to accomplish.
Uh-huh.
So maybe that's why I've always had such a good rapport with them.
Because you're not just like, my website down, you suck.
Yeah. You suck, website down, fix. Yeah, I don't do that. I was like, listen, I tried turning off my plugins. I tried doing this and this and that and this. And I'm just beating my head against a brick wall. So what else you got?
That's not very ogurely of you. You need to take the ogre by the horns and be more grumpy. Channel your inner dueling ogre.
Why, though, when I get better results with honey?
Ogres don't like honey, Remington. Everybody knows that.
I believe that you are wrong.
I guess this is where the dueling part comes in, huh?
Yeah. I love your birds.
Oh, you can hear the birds?
I can hear the blades.
Oh shit, is that going to mess up the recording at all?
I don't give a fuck, it's blades. Who doesn't like the sound of blades?
I was going to say I can move onto my phone into the bedroom if that'll make it easier.
No, it's fine. Just stay right there. I love it. It's
Okay.
pleasant. They accompany your voice wonderfully.
I'm like a Disney princess.
You are a Disney princess, Brandon.
Okay.
You are. You're the best Disney princess.
Oh, Disney princess.
Oh, I almost gave myself a cramp in my neck doing that.
Yeah, I'm on the second floor of my apartment, as you know, and I have like over the awning, there's like a metal roof part, and that roof part is broken, and the birds will nest inside of the broken part of the awning. So I have just like probably 10 to 15 birds out there at all times.
I see.
And that's my bird story.
That's a good bird story.
Thank you.
So I haven't been doing much.
You've been working a lot, haven't you?
I've been working a lot. I can't remember some of the things that I've been doing. Although I've had 2 days off in a row, which has been nice. Ginger and I hung out and did some things and, just kind of enjoyed some time together. Something we don't get to do super often.
What did you guys do?
Nothing exciting. Like literally nothing exciting. We went out to her mom's this past Sunday for her brother-in-law's birthday. So while we were out there, he just recently put up this massive, like 2-stall garage, high ceilings and all sorts of things, and they have a lift in there for cars, even. Because Rich likes to work efficiently, and that's just one thing that he could get that would help him be efficient when fixing a car. Because it sucks to lay down on cold ground and work on things. It really does.
Yeah.
So I had recently taken our car to get the oil changed, and we saw that a headlight was out, so I had left and had the oil changed, and that was all hunky-dory. And I went and bought a headlight, and the headlights in that car are, theoretically, you have to take the whole front end off to get to it. It's a Toyota Yaris 2008. So it's twofold. We go out, we have a birthday party for Derek, and we're like, we'll replace the light bulb while we're out there, no big deal. So Rich and I open up the car, and there's a lot of corrosion around the battery terminals and stuff. So we clean all that up, and Derek gets there. Derek is like a car guru. He gets he gets the headlight out without taking the front end off. He's just like, boop. I'm like, okay, well, I guess everything that I read is completely wrong.
Yeah, that saves you probably an hour of work right there.
Right, for sure. And in between this time, I had taken the car back because the guy at the shop said, I'll just replace the bulb for $20 if you have one. So I had taken it back there, and I was like, while you're at it, go ahead and do an inspection, so we can get the car copacetic. And the floodlights on the car were out as well, which we didn't know. Yeah, we didn't know about, and had just happened in the past couple of days. So for those of you who don't live in West Virginia, everything is stupid because, number one, we are required to have an inspection sticker, and they will decline you for the stupidest things.
Yeah.
One of which is all of your lights have to work. All of them. So even though that car would operate just fine without floodlights, there's no rhyme or reason to having them, really. If they don't work, they can't pass you. So we go out there. Now, the floodlights are a different story. We did put the car in the lift, which was really neat to just watch Ginger's car ascend into the heavens.
Yeah.
And then we pulled the bulbs from underneath of there, which also ended up being kind of easy. We just reached in behind the wheel wells and popped them out that way. Or Derek did, because he knows how all of these things work forever.
So what are the floodlights? Are those the lights underneath the main headlights?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And or flood. I think I keep calling them floodlights. I think it's actually fog lights. That's just floodlights.
Fog lights.
Yeah, fog lights. Now I feel like a big dum-dum.
You goofball.
I knew. I just got it confused. I'm sorry. I'm a computer guy, not a car guy.
Yeah.
So long story short, we got those fixed, and everything's copacetic with the car, and now I just need to go get it inspected.
See, my car, I need an inspection on it too, but my window doesn't roll down. Do you think they'll fail it for that?
I don't know if they hit you for that anymore. I think they used to, but I don't know if that's required now.
I have, I think an electrical issue with my car because whenever I turn my heat up, it also makes a buzzing noise, and my window doesn't roll down. I can't roll down any of my windows from the driver's side door.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a short in one of the wires there, and that could have just been water got in there and screwed up the wiring.
Yeah, unfortunately, to get that kind of shit fixed, they have to, at least the last time I had electrical issues, was $400 for them to troubleshoot to figure out what the electrical issue was.
Yeah. I'd wager beans to biscuits, we can probably just pop off the door panel and see if there's any corrosion or a loose wire or a little burn mark.
Whoa, you're gonna use beans to biscuits?
I am. I'm that confident.
So you turn beans into biscuits or biscuits into beans? Beans to biscuits, right?
Beans and biscuits. It's kind of like beans and cornbread, only with biscuits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you don't
I'm not
get
familiar with your backwoods West Virginia vernacular.
I don't even know where I picked that up from either. I just love saying it though. I bet you beans to biscuits, Brandon.
You're like an 1800s prospector.
It's just such a wholesome phrase.
I bet you beans to biscuits. I wish I had a story about beans right now because that would be the perfect segue.
It would be. Speaking of beans, Brandon.
Yeah.
Oh shit, you're gonna put me on the spot for it? Fuck. You know what's kind of shaped like beans?
What's that?
Asteroids.
I can't think of a better segue. That was perfect.
So I guess that means that we're starting off this week's episode with a little bit of space news.
I'm here for it.
I guess that means I have to start with the asteroid story too.
Yeah, you've really beans to biscuits yourself into a corner.
I did. So I was reading through this one. I'm going to go over this one really quick because it's kind of one that happens every so often. There is an asteroid that will be passing by Earth March 21st. It is the 2001 F032 asteroid. It has an orbit around the sun, an elliptical eccentric orbit. It's very highly inclined. And it's going to be passing pretty close to Earth. It's coming within 1.25 million miles of Earth, but it also presents a valuable scientific opportunity for astronomers. The largest asteroid predicted to pass by our planet in 2021 will be at its closest on March 21st, providing astronomers a rare opportunity to get a good look at the rocky relic that formed at the dawn of our solar system.
The rocky relic.
The rocky relic. I know. I like the way this guy writes, or gal.
Yeah.
I don't see the author name here. Called 2001 F0 or FO32. I don't know. I can't tell with this font. I think it's F032. The near-Earth asteroid will make its closest approach at a distance of about 1.25 million miles, or 2 million kilometers, or 5.25 times the distance from Earth to the moon. So a little over 5 times further away from us than the moon.
Okay.
There is no threat of a collision with our planet now or for centuries to come.
Well, that's a boring story.
Quote, we know the orbital path to blah, 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 blah around the sun very accurately since it was discovered 20 years ago and has been tracked ever since, said Paul Chodas, director of the Center for Near-Earth Object Studies, or CNEOS.
Paul Chodas?
CHODS, or CHODAS. Chodas. It's a fucking juvenile laughing at his name, okay. Which is managed by...
Chode Remington.
Yeah, I got it, Brad. Which is managed by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California. There is no chance the asteroid will get any closer than 1.25 million miles. Still, that distance is close in astronomical terms, which is why it has been designated a potentially hazardous asteroid. CNEOS computes high-precision orbits for near-Earth objects, or NEOs, in support of NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office, relying on telescopes and ground-based radar to help precisely characterize every NEO's orbit to improve long-term hazard assessments. So this story goes on. It completes one orbit in every 810 days, about 2.25 years. But then the article goes on to say that it won't come close to Earth again until 2052. So I guess that's just, it took me a little time to put those two together. I was like, if it completes an orbit in 2.25 years, why are we not seeing it again? But I guess the Earth won't be in the same spot.
Okay.
Like I just put that together in my head because that's what I was getting ready to like comment on was like, if it only takes 2.25 years to complete an orbit, then why will we not see it again until 2052?
Yeah, that is weird. That's beyond my understanding of science. That moves
But
into witchcraft.
well, I get it now, because we're not going to see it, because we're not going to be on that path for it to be close enough for us to see it.
Oh, gotcha. So it's going to be like a oval shape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. During its pass by, it'll be approaching speeds of about 77,000 miles per hour.
Damn.
As it comes into the inner solar system, the asteroid, quote, picks up speed like a skateboarder rolling down a half pipe. I see the writing on this was pretty good.
Yeah, that writer's really going to town with it.
And then
He's really pulling a Hemingway.
Right? And then slow. Well, I don't know about that. Well, yeah, no, because it's also boring. And then slows after being flung back out into deep space and swinging back towards the sun. So what's interesting about this, and ties into my next space news, is the comment on the near-Earth objects. So, as I said, NEOS relies on telescopes and ground-based radar to help precisely characterize orbits of near-Earth objects, right?
Right.
Well, that technology for doing that is kind of slow, and it works really well on objects that are like out and coming toward us. Like once we see an object like that, we can start to calculate and interpolate information about how it's traveling and when it's going to come close to us. But there's a lot of stuff that's moving through our solar system that we don't see, and that becomes potentially problematic. In fact, I'm going to hit 2 stories at once while we're talking about this. Yeah, I'm going to fucking double down on this.
You're going to bring the beans and the biscuits.
I'm going to bring the beans and the biscuits, son. So we're talking about this asteroid, and we're talking about this tracking system, but there was a, is it meteorite? Meteor? When is it a meteor? So it's asteroid if it's out in space, meteor when it enters the Earth's atmosphere, and meteorite when it hits, right?
You're asking the wrong person.
Why do you not know anything?
Well, that's a little harsh.
What's a meteor? Yeah, it would be a meteor. A meteoroid. Yeah, so if it enters here, so it's a meteoroid when it's out in space but is smaller than an asteroid. And when it enters the Earth's atmosphere, it's a meteorite. Or, I mean, a meteor, and when it hits the ground, it's a meteorite. Okay. So tying this near-Earth object over Vermont this past week.
I was wondering if you had this story.
I do have this story. There was a meteor that came into the Earth's atmosphere and exploded.
Yeah, and from what I read, it exploded loud enough that it like shook buildings and stuff.
Yeah. A fireball known to scientists as a bolide streaked through the sky over Vermont and exploded. The blast was significant, and reports from the ground indicate that the shockwave shook homes and businesses and even caused ground tremors that were strong enough to be picked up by seismic equipment in the area. In a post on NASA's Meteor Watch page on Facebook, the agency says that it compiled over 100 eyewitness reports of the fireball and used those to determine its flight path through the sky. Its trip through Earth's atmosphere didn't last long, however, as the friction was simply too much for it to stand, and the pressure the rock was forced to endure exceeded its ability to keep itself together. This article from Mike Wenner over on BGR.com pulled this quote from NASA that said, "A solution based on over 100 eyewitness reports does not significantly change the trajectory, but lowers the speed down to 42,000 miles per hour, or 19 kilometers per second. As the object, which was likely a fragment of an asteroid, penetrated deeper into the atmosphere, pressure built up on its front while a partial vacuum formed behind it. About 30 miles up, the pressure difference between the front and the back exceeded its structural strength. The space rock fragmented violently, producing a pressure wave that rattled buildings and generated the sound heard by those near the trajectory. Such pressure wave can also couple into the ground, causing minor tremors, quote-unquote tremors, that can be picked up by seismic instruments in the area. The wave itself can be detected by infrasound, or low-frequency sound that can travel great distances. But that's not all. In addition to determining the speed and the path of the object, NASA scientists were also able to determine the strength of the explosion and estimate the size of the fireball. Quote, in the case of last night, we were he wrote this sentence wrong, or somebody did. In the case of last night, we obtained infrasound measurements from 3 nearby stations. The amplitudes and durations of the signals put the energy of the fireball fragmentation at 440 pounds of TNT. So as if 400...
That's insane.
Yeah, so as if 440 pounds of TNT just exploded midair. To continue the quote, we can combine this energy with the speed to get a mass and size of the object. Like, how cool is that you can interpolate that information to figure out the rough size and shape of the object?
Yeah, that's really cool. Science has come a long way.
Like, I mean, has it, or is that just something that they've been able to do for ages and we just don't know about it because it's not our purview?
Yeah, I guess that's a possibility too. I mean, you had people like Galileo who were able to figure out all kinds of shit with the stars. I used to love astronomy and stuff like that. I used to read about the planets all the time when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But my knowledge of that kind of stuff has fallen to the wayside now.
I hear you. Yeah, I used to be way more into it than I am now, but it's still fun to read these stories.
Yeah, you love your space news.
I do. So to finish this one up and then lead into the next one, the mass and size of the object ended up being about 10 pounds and about 6 inches in diameter. So it weighed 10 pounds, was about 6 inches in diameter, and produced a shockwave fireball equal to that of 440 pounds of TNT.
Yeah. So what happens when an asteroid or a meteor the size of a car comes into our atmosphere?
Yeah.
We're just boned.
Sort of. It depends on if it breaks up or not. Like the one a few years back that detonated over Russia. It was a little bit more sizable than that. I don't remember how big it was off the top of my head, and I'm not going to look for it because we've got a lot to cover today. But if you look that up, I'm pretty sure it wasn't car size, but it was bigger than 6 inches across. And
did it explode in the same way?
It hit similarly. It hit a much heavier part of the atmosphere as it was falling, and that friction caused it to actually break up into several pieces. But I mean, it broke out windows, it caused tremors through the earth.
Wow.
Yeah. So tying into the asteroid story and the NEOs, the near-Earth objects, this is the proof that, we don't always see these things coming. There's not enough LiDAR, radar, and satellite to make that happen on the planet.
Yeah.
Enter in a Canadian startup, North Star Earth and Space, who plans to build satellites to track space trash. So this is,
and there's a lot of space trash, isn't there?
Oh, there's tons of it. There's tons and tons. So their focus is not going to be so much on asteroids and incoming meteors and that sort of thing. This has more to do. So it's like it's related, but it's adjacent to what I'm talking about.
Okay.
North Star Earth and Space plans to launch the first ever commercial fleet of satellites designed to track dangerous space trash in 2022. It has 3 of its Skylark satellites under construction for the new network, which will eventually number about 52 spacecraft. The fleet would be the first of its kind to track space trash from space rather than from ground-based radar or other technology. The satellites would address an orbit debris problem that NASA says is growing and poses a safety risk to people and property in space and on Earth. Most space trash travels at about 18,000 miles per hour, almost 7 times faster than a bullet.
Jesus.
Right? A quote from North Star co-founder and CEO Stuart Bain said, "We look at the way debris tracking was being done on the ground, and we said it would be better to do it from space. So a simple problem with a simple solution. Goes on to say, our goal is to make it much easier to navigate your satellite in space so you don't have to have a PhD in imagery or $100 million worth of equipment to be able to process the information. The satellites being built by France-based Thales Alenia Space will be relatively small at 220 pounds, with a telescope and small thrusters. North Star raised $65 million for the first stages of the satellite program, some of it from the Canadian government.
So it's a French startup?
So it's a Canadian startup, and they are getting the satellites from a French-based satellite manufacturer.
Okay.
The company is talking to launch providers and plans to choose one soon, Bain said, but he declined to say which providers that he is considering, and followed that by saying that it would be one with a proven track record. So he's not going to try anybody new, it sounds like. Of course, with a project of this scale, you would want somebody that has a proven track record. If you were just setting up maybe 1 or 2 satellites, maybe you could try somebody new, but a network of 50 sounds like you probably want somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Sounds like something for maybe SpaceX or NASA.
I don't even know if SpaceX would count.
I guess they are pretty new.
Yeah, there are other companies that do that stuff that haven't been talked about. You know, SpaceX.
Yeah, those are the only 2 companies that I know, SpaceX and NASA.
Yeah, SpaceX gets talked about a lot because that's, oh my God, what's his name?
Elon Musk.
Yeah, Jesus. That's Elon Musk's little baby, and since he's so damn eccentric, everybody talks about it. But there's tons of other places that send rockets into space.
I don't believe you.
All right, that's fine. I don't believe me either. I'm just talking out of my ass. North Star's satellites would image known space objects about 6 times per day when fully operational, Bain said. That compares with only sporadic observations available for certain objects today, especially if they are owned by a nation that doesn't publish details about their space operations, such as China or Russia. North Star's tracking would provide about 80 to 90% more accurate distance predictions for 2 space objects, according to the company. So, as an example, they give ground-based tracking systems predicted 2 satellites that collided in 2009 would be almost 2,000 feet away from each other at their closest point.
Wow.
Yeah, so they said they should be 2,000 feet away from each other, but they collided. North Star said its system would have sounded an alarm with a mist distance of only around 200 feet apart.
So they're having a dick waving contest right now. They're like, well, our system.
Well, I mean, you know, having that's a tenfold, you know, better accuracy rate.
Oh yeah, that's a huge disparity between what they predicted and what they could predict.
Right. In that particular instance that they're talking about, one of the satellites, Iridium 33, could have moved away from the other, a defunct Russian craft named Cosmos 2251. The collision produced 2,000 pieces of debris, one of which passed fewer than 400 feet away from the International Space Station in 2012.
Damn.
So what they're saying is with that mist distance, by knowing that the mist distance would have only been technically 200 feet apart, the still working satellite could have been told to fire its thrusters to move further away from Cosmos, which was just floating space junk.
Okay.
Yeah. We can't afford to have significant accidents in space as we are watching companies like SpaceX and OneWeb launch thousands of new satellites, Bain said. We just can't afford to delay this anymore. So yeah, it goes on for a few more paragraphs. The goal should be that each space-based platform or spacecraft has the computational framework on board to be able to produce the data and actually extract information from the data without having to send it to the ground. So, and even still, having a bunch of satellites up there tracking everything much more efficiently and faster means that there could be a better response time to avoid collisions. And the more stuff that goes into space, I mean, if you look at a map of what they have right now. In fact, I'm going to see if I can find one to put up in a picture in the description on our website.
Okay.
I don't know if you'll be able to. I doubt that you'll be able to see it from like reading the show notes below if you're on a podcast app. But if you want to see it, I'll see if I can find one to put up in the description. Not just
Yeah,
you,
it's
but
only
the
gonna get
listeners as well.
yeah. It's only going to get crazier too as all these companies start launching more and more satellites.
Yeah, it'll be God. We'll have our own little like ring around us. It's so weird. Our planet will start to look like one of those ones from an anime.
Yeah, with just all of the space junk you can see in the
Yeah.
sky.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't find one immediately right now, but I'll try and remember to look for one as I finish editing this episode and make sure to put one down in the description and the show notes below. I've got one more piece of space news. I love the way that this news, it's 10 on your side wavy.com. So this is like a local news that has been that pooped it out from another website, you know, because that seems to
Yeah.
be how these local news things do it. This one's called SPERM in Space.
You've got my attention.
Scientists propose building an ark on the moon. So I actually had
Building an ark.
an ark on the moon. So what I love about this is like a local news website. IFL Science, I have a similar story from IFL Science, and their title is Scientists Want to Build a Doomsday Vault of Earth's Species on the Moon, just in case. So
They really went for it with sperm in space.
Yeah, so IFL Science was like, I'm going to stay classy, and this, which came from Nexstar MediaWire, whatever that is, which it looks like it's a repost from something else, maybe an affiliate, went with sperm in space. The long and short of it
they
is...
don't bury the lead at all.
No. The long and the short of it is a team of researchers from the University of Arizona had made a bold proposal for preserving life on Earth in the event of a global crisis. They outlined what it would take to create a repository of life, not just humankind, but animal and plant, far away from the risks that our planet faces, whether natural or due to human activity. The proposal may sound like something out of science fiction, but it's surprisingly realistic. So basically, they want to make...
Have you noticed that every article always says that? It may sound like something out of science fiction, but...
it's science fact. Yeah.
Yeah, they always say that. It's so tropey at this point.
I agree wholeheartedly. But basically, they want to do a seed vault on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing crazy really. It's just, and not impossible either. It's not science fiction at all. It's just a matter of getting the equipment up there to do it, and then having a system to where it can be maintained.
And we already have that seed vault in the Arctic, so it's interesting that they want to make another one on the moon.
Well, yes and no, because part of the seed vault of the Arctic is the fact that it's so cold. You know, it acts to preserve that. But our planet continues to warm.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
So eventually, because of climate change, and I don't like saying global warming because people are stupid.
It still snows. How's it getting warmer?
Well, this is the worst snow we've had in 17 years. Yeah, so much for global warming. I fucking hate that. That's why they tried to make everybody start saying climate change, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
But everybody just fucking continues to cling on to global warming. Either way, that's not the point of this. Don't get me off on a tangent for that stupidity. The moon is an interesting candidate. It's got some pros and cons. It's bombarded still pretty frequently, I think, by meteors. You know, it not as much as it used to be in the past, obviously, by all the craters all over it, but it still gets hit pretty frequently. It's kind of a catch-all for stuff that could come down and hit us. But that being said, if you approach one of the darker side of the moon, it's infinitely cold over there, like, because it doesn't get any sunlight. So putting it right there on the edge of the dark side of the moon where all the aliens live, is
Naturally, yes.
is a pretty decent idea, really.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting story. And why did they say sperm? Are they going to keep sperm up there? I can't get past the sperm talk.
No, it's a seed farm. Like, I don't know why they chose to go with sperm aside from just to catch people's attention.
What is sperm but a human seed, Remington?
It's true. It's true. Same could be said for an egg, though. So
Put that sperm in your pipe and smoke it.
anyway, that's the end of my space news. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to that story aside from they just want to do a seed vault on the moon, and there's nothing crazy about that.
Yeah, but it sounds like science fiction.
Ah, but it sounds like science fiction. Doomsday seed vault. Bah. It's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
But it's not. The team sees it as a modern global insurance policy against disasters that may befall earthly civilization, hence the Lunar Ark name, where cryogenically frozen samples of sperm, eggs, spores, and seeds of 6.7 million species can be protected in safety on the moon. The moon might not be an ideal location for ease of access, but it has advantages beyond being removed from the doomsday scenario that may have befallen our planet. In particular, the moon's lava tubes and lunar pits could be ideal places to construct a modern-day Noah's Ark, similar in concept to Svalbard's famous Doomsday Seed Vault, but in a place where the climate crisis can't reach the specimens. So basically what I just said there. There are hundreds of lava tubes beneath the surface of the moon. Thanks to the rock above, they are shielded from radiation and micrometeorites, and the extremely low temperature underground would be an asset for storing the samples, just like the Arctic's Svalbard. A Norwegian archipelago is for the seed vault and the Arctic World Archive. Powering such a facility is also within current capabilities, assuming a 30% efficiency. 191 square meters of solar panels would be enough to power the Lunar Ark. Construction and delivery would be a hurdle, but nothing beyond the realm of possibilities. Professor Joaquin Thanga, who presented the concept, explained that they estimated the facilities to be filled with samples in about 250 trips. For comparison, the construction of the International Space Station took 40 flights.
Huh.
Quote, "It's not crazy big," Thanga said in a statement accompanying the talk. "We were a little surprised by that." So I guess they after crunching the numbers, they figured it would be a lot less of a problem than they thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
There are hurdles to overcome, though, some of which have potentially fantastic solutions. The cold and near vacuum conditions of the moon's lava tubes could affect metals employed in this facility in a number of ways. They can freeze, jam, and even cold weld together, but the team has a creative solution, employing superconductors. Superconductors exhibit incredible properties, such as allowing the flow of electricity with no resistance. They can also trap things in place thanks to a phenomenon known as quantum levitation. The samples from Earth. Quantum levitation. The samples from Earth could be made to levitate in place over superconducting tracks, with robots allowed to move about on the track to check them.
Fuck yes.
Well,
you lost me for the last hour, but you brought me back with quantum levitation and robots.
While this ambitious project may not be ready to be deployed just yet, the team has also proposed ways to study the moon's lava tubes in preparation thanks to hopping and flying robots called Sphere X. These lava tubes may not only house specimens of earthly species, but they could also be ideal for a permanent presence of humans on the moon.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, everything will flow much better once we actually get it done in editing. But yeah, it was a lot of space news, and a lot of it can be boring.
No, that's fine. People like space news. I get a little bored by it, but our listeners seem to enjoy it, so I have no problem with it.
That, and it always sounds better when I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And that's the end of my space news.
Space news closed.
Yep. All right, Brandon, now it's your turn to talk. I've done enough of it.
I don't think so.
All right, fine. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. Fuck it. If you have any questions or comments, you can hear yourself on air, blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. Good night. Do you want to hear about some D&D news?
I want to hear whatever you got, Brandon.
So the D&D movie is still in development. That's Dungeons and Dragons for you lay people. And they recently have cast Sophia Lillis, who is an actress I hadn't heard of, but she's a younger actress who was in a couple TV shows, and she was in the movies It 1 and 2.
Okay.
They've also brought in Chris Pine and Hugh Grant.
Really?
Yeah, Hugh Grant is going to be in the new Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Please tell me he's going to be the villain.
Yes, he is.
You know, it's not the first time that Hugh Grant has played a villain.
What else has he been a villain in?
Most recently that I know of, that I've seen him in, he played the evil Phoenix Buchanan in Paddington 2, which I think it was right around Christmas time or shortly thereafter. They had like a Paddington marathon where they played it all day on one of the, I don't remember if it was Cartoon Network or Disney or one of them. I don't know. And yeah, I was watching it and I was like, oh, there's Hugh Grant. That's kind of weird. Oh, he's playing a villain. That's even more weird.
How does he look? Does he still look dreamy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's still Hugh Grant. He's adorable. He's just older and has saggier face.
Oh my, it's me, Hugh Grant.
Yep. But he's still charmingly befuddled, as old Family Guy points out.
So I know we've talked about it before, but what would your ideal D&D movie be? Would it be like an existing property, an existing story, like the Eye of Vecna? Or...
It's already been made. That first D&D movie with Jeremy Irons and whatever one of the Wayans brothers was in it, and
Thora Birch.
Yeah, that's just, it doesn't get any better than that perfection.
Oh God.
Just
I
Jeremy
rewatched
Irons.
that movie within the past few months. And it's fun, but it's not that good of a movie.
Just Jeremy Irons chewing through those scenes, just putting everything he can on the table because it's ridiculous.
There was an interview with him, and I can't remember, we may have talked about this before too, but there was an interview with him where they asked him why he was in that movie.
Yeah.
And he said he had just bought a castle and he needed to pay it off.
Yeah.
I had just bought a castle.
And I needed to pay it off.
I mean,
for the death of the king.
Movie... Is a D&D movie doomed to fail?
No, I don't think so. I think the other ones, there was, let's see here, it was Wrath of the Dragon God and the Book of Vile Darkness, I think were the other two. I mean, they were okay. I don't know if you can make one good, because when you come at it, especially as a D&D player, right? Like it's almost like it's almost like watching a campaign in real life.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that brings up feelings of like LARPing, that brings up feelings of like tying characters that you've played in the past to different instances of the ones that are being portrayed on screen. I don't know if you can make it amazing and still call it a Dungeons and Dragons movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's just so much to Dungeons and Dragons as far as the worlds that exist.
Yeah.
Underneath the umbrella of Dungeons and Dragons, that it's kind of hard to narrow it down to just a single story.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think that you can absolutely do that. I think the problem becomes when you put the words D&D in front of it, or that it's known that it's based off of Dungeons and Dragons, either something in that world like Tasha's stuff or Mordenkainen, or I mean, those are characters that I'd like to see a movie about, not
just like another rando group of adventurers.
Yeah, like I think that's where they need to go. I think that's what would make a good D&D movie. Let's have an entire story about the amazing person that Mordenkainen was.
Yeah.
I think that's where they need to go with that. I think just
and
following
that's a possibility.
band...
They haven't really announced who was going to be playing who in the movies yet.
True. I think that's absolutely the way to go. Instead of following a band of adventurers, introducing a well-established character inside of the lore, like a spellcaster who has spells named after them, or the original party even.
Oh yeah, that was in like the 3.5 books.
Yeah. God, why am I blanking on any of their names right now?
Yeah, I'm totally blanking too, but I know who you're talking about. The ones
But
that they would have like the specific
the-
examples of. Tordok?
Yeah,
Was that one of them?
there was Tordok, there was like the elvish wizard.
James Lee,
No.
the elven wizard.
Yeah, it was a female wizard named James Lee. Very
James Lee
elvish.
McPointeers.
This very elvish female name there. But yeah, and even that, I think that would be stretching it. Like, I think we really need the people in the lore.
What if they go like the Jumanji route with it, where it's about players getting sucked into the game?
So now you're talking like lit RPG.
Yeah.
I think that there's something there that they could do it, but then you fall back on that same trope of like it's just an adventuring party. But then again, lit RPGs have become really popular over the past
they have.
5 or 10 years. There seems to be a really solid underground following for lit RPGs.
D&D is just so popular now. It's insane. Wizards has like, they're just pumping out money at this point. Or not pumping out, they're raking in money at this point.
You think?
Oh, from 5e for sure.
I haven't looked at any of the monetary reports for any of it, so I have no clue.
I mean, neither have I, but I just know from the popularity of 5e, and you have like Critical Role, and there's the podcast Dungeons and Daddies.
Yeah.
Which is super popular too.
Yeah.
I know that I bring a lot of D&D stories the past couple of sessions that we've recorded here. But I've been all about role-playing games lately, man. I've been all about like learning new systems. And I've been talking to Mumphrey a lot about different, because Mumphrey is so knowledgeable on role-playing game systems. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just basically been steeped in it. I've been getting D&D books, like new D&D books a lot.
I mean, that's cool. I don't know. I have come to a point where like I love D&D and I don't know if I want to try anything different.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not to say that I wouldn't. It's just I'm so comfortable in that high fantasy kind of feel that I don't know. I will say there have been I there for a little while once Terry started writing some lit RPGs where I got into listening to them. I've listened to the first 2 books of his, which are Outpost, Monsters, Maces, and Magic series, Book 1. Book 2 is called Betrayal, and Book 3, which was a novella, which was called Guild. And I've listened to the first 3. I haven't listened to Ferried yet.
Ferried was a good one.
Oh, was it? I'm gonna have to listen to it.
And then he also has Pawn and Date out as well.
Oh, really? I don't have those on Audible yet. I listen to everything solely on Audible. I mean, if he does have it on Audible, I haven't purchased them yet. So I'll look to see if they are, but I'm not sure if they are. Anyway, on top of those, there's another author that I'd like to get on sometime soon, J.R. Davis. He started his own series called Hunter's Dream Online, which is more like your brain gets transported into a video game while you sleep, right?
Yeah, like Sword Art Online.
Yeah, it's very similar to Sword Art Online. Hunter's Dream Online Ascension is the first book. I really enjoyed it. And then the second one that he put out is a little bit of a twist. He's trying to create a whole multiverse. The second book is called The Hunter's Paralogue, Deus Ex Death Trap. That's
a mouthful.
It is. And all of these seem to be like even carries. Like, the series is called Monsters, Maces, and Magic because that's the RPG that's happening in. But like, if you read the whole title, Feried, a lit RPG adventure, Monsters, Maces, and Magic Book 4, like, that's a mouthful too.
Yeah, that's true.
There was another really good one that I enjoyed called Freehaven Online Winter Dungeon Land. And that one's by June Prince. And I really enjoyed that series as well.
Oh, wow. So you actually did get into quite a few lit RPGs then.
Yeah. I see, and those kind of stories, some of them would really make some pretty interesting movies. Freehaven Online was really well put together. I really enjoyed that one. Freehaven Online, the Winter Dungeon Land, uh, the publisher's summary is: Great Uncle Winter has a dark secret, milk and cookies. He doesn't just like them. He needs them to maintain his essential goodness. When an abominable snow rat infestation devours his entire stash of cookies in the North Pole, he starts to turn evil. And Justine's guild must reunite a lost tribe of elves that abandoned the North Pole centuries ago to bring the big man in red the greatest cookies in all the land. It's
Huh.
so now I think this was the third book in the series. The first two were like pretty kind of embroiled in the story of Freehaven Online. This one took a really weird turn and
Seriously.
ended up being really enjoyable regardless. Like, that's a weird premise for a book. But it ended up being really good as well. So, yeah. So this all, of course, let's bring it back home. This all stemmed from you talking about a D&D movie.
Yeah. Do you think it would serve the movie better to be more comedy focused, or do you think it should take itself more seriously?
I think it has to have a balance. There's got to be some funny parts in there. I think Wrath of the Dragon God did a pretty good job of that. I think that Book of Vile Darkness was decent, but it took itself too seriously. But again,
See, I liked Book of Vile Darkness.
well, that's what I was going to say. But again, the content of that, the Book of Vile Darkness is, for anybody that didn't get it during the 3.5 run, it's got a lot of weird, dark stuff in there. You know, its focus was definitely all the stuff that all of the Christians who know nothing about D&D want to condemn it for.
Yes. Like, there was a prestige class that you could only get by sleeping with a dead body.
Yeah, shit like that. Like, super taboo stuff. In fact, I think they actually had a taboo system in there.
Yeah, they did.
If I remember
They also had
correctly.
the rules for drugs.
Yeah. Which, I mean, there's a lot of mechanics in there that can be used in a normal game that isn't dark. But yeah, it definitely had some dark shit through it.
So going on with my D&D stuff, Unearthed Arcana, where wizards will put out new races and new classes and new abilities for people to playtest before they put them into actual books, have recently put out the rabbit folk, the owl folk, fairies, and hobgoblins of the Feywild as new playable races. Which leads people to think that their next book or one of their next books is going to be based in the Feywild.
Well, and that would make sense.
Yeah, which would be interesting because I don't know a whole lot about the Feywild. In our D&D campaign, Ethan is playing an elf of the Feywild.
Yeah.
And I haven't really introduced anything around his character yet because I just don't know anything about the Feywild. And they haven't released a lot of information about it.
Yeah.
Now, if I were a good DM, I would just make stuff up. But, you know, I'm not a good DM, so...
That's not true, Brandon. You're a fine DM. It's one of those things that's interesting because you find, you know, somebody will grab a hold of a piece of something that they're excited about, but when there's not much information around, or not much lore, I guess. There's information, but there's not a lot of lore tied to it. And we play pretty off the cuff, and like, you do a lot of prep work behind the scenes, But at the same time, we are notorious, like all groups are, but we are notorious for just throwing anything that you have prepared for a night out a window.
Yeah.
Like almost every time.
I've stopped planning as much. I still do a lot of planning, like for the overarching story,
Yeah.
but each individual session, I do a little bit less planning and I just have a basic outline of what I want to get done or what I hope gets done
Right.
and just go from there. Like where you guys are now, I don't know if you remember because it's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You guys have gone to investigate the parcel of land that the mayor has given you, and you found some goblins who are worshiping a ogre skeleton that has come to life.
Yep.
Well, my notes for that, I had like players will investigate parcel of land,
Uh-huh.
and then under that I just had goblins and skeleton question mark.
I love it.
And that was my entire plan going into it. And then when you guys got there, I was like, okay, what kind of skeleton is there? What's going on here? And just made it up as I went along.
That's
and kind of
nice.
played off of you guys. So it was going to be it was just going to be a skeleton until you went to talk to it. And then I was like, no, I'll make the skeleton talk. Sure. We'll see what happens.
I love that. I love it. Now you just need to tie it into what in the fuck we're actually doing. Like, that's just it. I've kind of come to a point where I mean, we have to go back to the main hub, but I feel like there are some pretty wide pieces of information that we're missing.
In what way?
Like with the demon in the jewelry.
Well, you've had that. You guys have the tools to figure that out. I've given you all the tools for it. I mean, this is boring to people who don't know our campaign and aren't familiar with it at all.
Right.
But I try to give all of the tools for everything. Like you have the hag ring with the hag you can talk to, and she knows what's going on. You guys just haven't really talked to her that much.
Yeah.
But yes, so out of these D&D races, which one would you be interested in trying if you were to pick one?
Let's see here. I assume that you pulled your article from comicbook.com?
Yeah.
Okay, then we're looking at the same article. The fairy is the only fey race represented in Unearthed Arcana. It has a natural flying speed and the ability to hover. They also have the ability to innately cast druid craft and fairy fire without using a spell slot. Additionally, fairies can squeeze through spaces as narrow as 1 inch wide. The hobgoblins of the Feywild are built around the Feywild rule of reciprocity and gift giving. They can take the help action as a bonus action several times a day and can grant additional benefits. For instance, they can imbue a target with temporary hit points or increase their speed by 10 feet. They can also draw upon the fortune of many by adding a bonus equal to the number of nearby allies to turn a failed attack roll or ability check into a success. Owl folk have arms and legs and wings. They have the ability to fly, are proficient in stealth, and have the ability to innately detect magic as a ritual using their magic sight, which that's kind of cool. Rabbit folk are bipedal creatures with powerful legs and good luck. They can add their proficiency bonus to their initiative rolls, are proficient in perception, and can use their reaction to add a d4 to a failed dex saving throw to turn it into a success. They also have the ability to move up to 12 feet extra on a turn using their rabbit hop ability. I think of all of them, I think the hobgoblin would be a real fun one to NPC.
Yeah.
I would probably like to play an owl folk and maybe a fairy.
Yeah, a fairy would be tough, I think, because they're small.
Exactly. I was going to say, that's what I was going to say. I think the fairy would be a fun challenge to play because you really have to keep in mind that you're very tiny.
Yeah.
And then the owl folk, I do love a good sneak, and I like the idea. I don't think I've ever played a character that flew.
Yeah,
I mean,
you've got in current D&D, you have I think it's pronounced Aarakocra or Aarakocra.
Yeah.
The eagle people.
Yeah, I always said Arakoa, but I
Maybe
never
it is
took...
Arakoa. I'm known to mispronounce words, so possibly yes.
We all know about the Fjords.
Archipelagos.
The archipelagos. The Arakkoa.
Oh, so Arakoa, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I always read it. Well, that's from World of Warcraft, though. I don't know what the one in, and that's probably where I got that name. What is it in? Yeah, yours.
Aarakocra?
Yeah, Aarakocra. So yeah, you're definitely closer than I am. It looks like Blizzard kind of just bastardized the same idea. I'm sure this is like a mythological creature.
Yeah. I've already started to work Owlfolk into my campaign, actually.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I'm excited to get to that.
So I'll introduce that. Bruce Campbell confirms that Evil Dead Rise will start production this year.
All right.
So the new Evil Dead movie.
I was going to say, is it going to
place-
be a movie or is it going to be another mini series or what?
a movie.
Okay.
It takes place in the city. So the Evil Dead, the Deadites are going to be attacking a big city this time. And it has a female protagonist as the main character.
Sweet.
Netflix is rolling out, and you had this story too, a way to crack down on password sharing.
Yeah.
The message prompts users to confirm they are the main account holder via text or email.
Yeah.
So you're going to be using Netflix, and if you're, say you have Netflix and you've given me your password, so I'm using it at my apartment.
Yep.
It's going to pop up and say, hey, are you the main account holder? We're going to send an email or a text message for you to confirm it. Otherwise, you're getting kicked off.
Yeah. So then you'll text me, and then I'll text you back the little code, and it'll be a mild inconvenience at best, and it'll still just it'll still happen.
Yeah, basically. Which is crazy because Netflix stock, I read, is up 50% since last March.
Oh wow.
And it reached 200 million users last month.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that are just going to streaming platforms. Seems like.
Yeah, well, I mean, the pandemic was the perfect storm for streaming outlets.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mr. Netflix had to have been rubbing his hands together whenever the pandemic started. Like, yes, yes.
Yeah. Mr. Bartholomew Netflix.
Bartholomew Netflix.
It's actually an Americanized version of a Norse name.
What, Netflix?
Yeah, mm-hmm. It was originally North Flaxy.
That's stupid.
Thank you. What else do you got?
My final bit of news here is researchers off the coast of Western Australia discovered an 81-year-old snapper tropical fish.
Oh, weird.
Which is like 30 years older than they thought tropical fish got.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say like a tortoise or something, but yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
And the way they figured out its age was by dissecting it.
Yay!
Yay, science!
Yay, science! Killing things to, well, I mean, I imagine it was already dead, but...
No, they fished it out and dissected it.
Oh, well, bummer for that fish, I guess.
Yeah, they found an 81-year-old, and they also found, I think, a 74-year-old fish.
Oh, wow. That's still pretty cool.
They age it by, there's something in its inner ear called, I don't remember, like an otolith or an omnolith or something like that.
Okay.
And it's a bone, and they can use that bone to determine the age of a fish.
Weird.
So yeah, that's science for you.
Speaking of science, I got a couple of science ones that I can throw in here.
Okay.
A team of scientists at the Ohio State University has found that steady electrical stimulation generates increased permeability across blood vessels, an important characteristic that can help wound healing substances in the blood reach injuries more efficiently.
Huh.
Blood vessels are crucial for wound healing. They thread through your body carrying nutrients, cells, and chemicals that help control inflammation caused by energy. Oxygen and white blood cells, which protect the body from foreign invaders, are two key components delivered by blood vessels. But when there is an injury, the architecture of the blood vessels at the wound sites are disrupted. That also interrupts the vessel's ability to help the wound heal. They regrow on their own, almost like the branches of trees, without external sources of electricity as part of the healing process. And as the blood vessels begin to grow, they replenish the skin cells and establish a healing barrier again, says Dr. Prakash, a researcher in the Department of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering at the Comprehensive Cancer Center, that all of those words don't go together. What?
Yeah, it's just like a mishmash. Like somebody threw a bunch of words into a hat and reached in and pulled one out at a time.
Goes on to say, but our question was, how do you make this process better and faster, and is there any benefit to doing that? In lab tests performed using human cells, the researchers found that stimulating blood vessels with electricity showed a marked increase in blood vessel permeability, which is a physical marker suggestive of possible new vessel growth.
Interesting.
Yeah, these initial findings are exciting, and the next phase of work will require us to study if and how we can actually grow new vessels, Dr. Prakash said. The results imply that one of the primary ways blood vessels work to heal injuries is by allowing molecules and cells to move across the vessel's walls. And now, this is Dr. John Song who said that, and now we have a better understanding for how electric stimulation can change the permeability across the vessel walls. The findings were published in the journal Lab on a Chip. Never heard of it before, but then again, I've never heard of a lot of medical journals.
It was published on a chip?
No, it was published in the journal of, quote, or the title of the journal is called Lab on a Chip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like
I thought you were saying that they
microchip.
published it like on a Dorito.
Yeah, that's what they did. Another study shows how reading is important.
No way.
How it's not only important to people who just have that natural affinity to literacy, but also for people who are doing things in math as well. A University of Buffalo researchers' recent work on dyslexia has unexpectedly produced a startling discovery which clearly demonstrates how the cooperative areas of the brain responsible for reading skill are also at work during apparently unrelated activities such as multiplication.
Meaning what?
Though the division between literacy and math is commonly reflected in the division between the arts and the sciences, the findings suggest that reading, writing, and arithmetic, the foundational skills informally identified as the 3 R's, which undercuts the reading part of it,
Yeah.
might actually overlap in ways not previously imagined, let alone experimentally validated. Let's see if I can skim through this real quick. Like, reading is everything, and saying so is more than an inspirational slogan. It's now a definitive research conclusion. And it's a conclusion that was not originally part of McNorgan's design, who was the paper's author. He planned to exclusively explore if it was possible to identify children with dyslexia on the basis of how the brain was wired for reading. It seemed plausible given the work I had recently finished, which identified a biomarker for ADHD. Like that previous study, a novel deep learning approach, which makes multiple simultaneous classifications, is at the core of McNorgan's current paper, which appears in the journal Frontiers in Computational Neuroscience. Deep learning networks are ideal for uncovering conditional nonlinear relationships. So it looks like he's using deep learning, maybe AI of some kind, to explore these different relationships.
Okay.
McNorgan identified dyslexia with 94% accuracy when he finished his first data set consisting of functional connectivity from 14 good readers and 14 poor readers engaged in a language task. But he needed another data set to determine if his findings could be generalized. So he chose a math study which relied on mental multiplication tasks and measured functional connectivity from the fMRI information in the second data set. So basically, in both data sets, participants were engaged in different tasks, languages, and math. Yet in each case, the connectivity fingerprint was the same, and he was able to identify dyslexia with 94% accuracy, whether testing against a reading group or a math group.
Oh, wow.
So basically what this is saying is that the fundamental function of reading, regardless of whether it's associated with mathematical or literary mental computation, both require good reading skills.
Yeah.
Which is something that we could always assume, but now this is data that backs that up, which makes it that much more important.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It makes sense, but having the data to back it up now is always good.
Yeah, absolutely. So those were my two kind of science of the day
Suns.
stories. Project Proteus mod promises to completely change how you play Skyrim. Have you seen anything about this yet?
No, I'm interested in this though.
Plenty of Skyrim mods add new followers, locations, quest lines, or ways to look naked. Project Proteus is more about altering how you approach Skyrim, giving you an in-game editing tool to alter NPCs, items, spells, and even weather on the fly.
That's interesting.
As well as importing characters you've already created into your current game and then switching between them as you please.
Huh.
Some of what Project Proteus lets you do is already possible within Skyrim's console commands and existing mods, but this brings them together in a single pop-up menu. And while you could switch to another save game to play your Khajiit Archer for a while, Project Proteus lets you import them into an existing world state, meaning you can swap to a character with their own items, skills, and spells, but keep your current quest progression. NPCs who have died...
I like that a lot.
Yeah, NPCs who have died remain dead. Items one character has left in storage can be retrieved by the other, and so on. Plus, you can build your own adventuring party by importing whoever you want. Swapping between party members takes about 30 seconds, so don't expect to smoothly bounce between them like it's Genshin Impact. But the idea of being able to hop to someone with a different skill set in a different situation is intriguing. And being able to swap to a more appropriate character for certain quests brings plenty of role-playing possibilities.
Yeah, it does. Making it more like a group sort of D&D style game.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Skyrim could definitely lend itself to having that, too. I feel like. I haven't played a lot of it myself, but I've played some. And I think it would have benefited from a group dynamic in some places.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it would be, ideally, it would be great to have multiple characters just kind of playing through the same quest, like actual people.
They have that mod, actually, where you can have multiple people all playing at the same time, yeah.
That's cool.
From what I've seen, it's kind of glitchy, because Skyrim's not made to be a multiplayer game, but it works relatively well.
Wow. Okay, flying through the rest of them, COD YouTuber Drifter says swatting experience almost killed him. For those of you who don't know what swatting is when you're like live streaming and somebody calls the police in your area and has them raid your house.
Yeah, normally saying that you've got somebody held hostage or you've got a bomb somewhere, something like that.
Call of Duty content creator Brad Drifter Overbay uploaded a brand new video to his YouTube channel talking about how he almost died when people swatted his home. About halfway through a video titled Low Testosterone Almost Killed Me, Drifter mentioned how 2019 and 2020 swattings contributed to his ongoing battle with low testosterone. He said he almost died 4 or 5 times as armed people approached his Texas home.
Jesus.
Yeah. I got swatted a couple times last year. Drifter starts at about the 12-minute mark in the video. There was an ongoing issue with harassment. Another creator streamed one of his fans coming to my house with a ski mask and a gun in what I personally assumed was going to be an armed home invasion. Police took care of that in my front lawn, thankfully, and just a whole ton of crazy, bizarre stuff. I almost died 4 or 5 times. There were other people that were armed.
Wow.
Yeah, that shows how very dangerous putting yourself out there can be.
Yeah.
Especially if you've gotten to the point where you've gained some notoriety. Thank God this podcast isn't popular.
Yeah, really.
I'd hate to have to shoot people in my front lawn.
Especially with all of the information we've shared about where we live and stuff. It
Right?
wouldn't be too hard to swat us.
No, or find us for that matter. It would be a mistake, though. I don't know about you, but I'm chomping at the bit to taste human flesh.
Well, it really speaks to the fucked up nature of people.
It does.
That somebody would swat a house.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many things wrong with that on so many levels. Like, it's terrifying for the person involved. It is a breach of etiquette and trust between a streamer and a person who is hanging out in their community, is probably not an actual part of their community, because a good community would not do that to the person that they follow. And it's a waste of resources.
Absolutely.
And then if there's an actual somebody who's going and like I guess he said that there was somebody who approached his house with a weapon and thought that it was going to be a home invasion, and the police came and took care of it. That's fucked up.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah. And I don't know why you would do that in Texas.
Yeah, really. It's one of the worst places to try to do a home invasion is in Texas.
Right? For sure. So yeah, that's one of those things that still goes on today. And it's I know it'll fall on deaf ears for anybody who does this sort of thing, but it's definitely something that you should not do.
No.
I think that anybody who calls in something like that should equally have their own house swatted. Just to
I don't know if they should have their house swatted, but they should definitely be arrested and prosecuted hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be kind of where it comes from. I would approach it in the same. I wouldn't just send police officers and say, "Okay, we tracked you down. Now you're going to jail." I would send a whole SWAT team to scare the absolute piss out of them, and then say, "This is what happens when you SWAT other people, you miserable piece of shit."
Yeah.
Now go to jail. Because if they're gonna make other precincts and stuff waste their time and resources, potentially saving other people's lives, then I think that because that's just it. You know, you SWAT somebody, there's a chance that they could get shot. You know,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If they don't know what's going on and there's a distinct lack of understanding about the situation and they act in the wrong way on the wrong day with the wrong officer, you know, it could end tragically.
Yeah.
So I think by now most people who have been swatted and who have been in like the streaming community kind of knows how to handle that, even if they've never experienced it before. You just have to stop what you're doing and stay calm and, you know, deal with the situation. But you'd never know how you're going to really react to it unless it happens.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd react if suddenly the SWAT team was pounding on my door with guns drawn.
Yeah.
I would hope I would remain calm.
Yeah, for sure. Unless they fucking pulled you out of a dead sleep. But all right. Last couple ones. Benedict Cumberbatch completely rejects the idea of playing Thrawn in Star Wars.
Which is a bummer because I think he'd make a good Thrawn.
I think he would too. He has no interest in committing to a part that would require hours of painstaking makeup each day. He says, "That's a straight no from me right now," Cumberbatch told Collider. "There is no way I want to be turned blue. I turned the air blue very recently." I don't know what that means. No, seriously.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
"I have precious time with my children, and I think sitting in a makeup chair and being painted blue and the amount of time it would take to do that and then take it off at the end of the day might just, it's not the right time in my life for that."
Fair.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to argue with.
Really.
I think that they could probably. I will tell you that a skin color change in post is not that hard to do.
Oh, really?
Yep. I think some minor prosthetics to put the heavy ridges that Thrawn has in his face would take a matter of minutes, maybe a half hour. I don't think that they would have to paint him blue every day. But, you know, there's a balance between digital and practical effects for that sort of thing, too.
Yeah, and shows like The Mandalorian and stuff, they're definitely trying to be more practical with their effects, it seems like.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna say that practical effects don't work better, because they do in most cases. But shit, a few weeks ago, Corridor Digital showed how they could improve on the face replacement for Luke.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And as far as it goes, they did a better job. Like, you could tell it wasn't, but with the right actor, they did that in a weekend with one of their own crew who almost kind of had a similar bone structure to Mark Hamill when he was young.
Yeah.
And it's still, like, it didn't look like Luke per se, but it was damn close. And if you find another actor who looked a little closer to Luke or to Mark Hamill when he was young, it would have been indistinguishable.
Yeah, it looked really good.
And really the main takeaway from that particular thing, if you haven't watched it yet and you're intrigued about what we're saying, go check it out, because what really sells it is the lighting. So the problem that they were having with the computer generated character of Luke in the Mandalorian scene is that because it was computer generated, the lighting wasn't as accurate as it should have been. It was all softened, and they just weren't in a place for, like, there would have been hard lines and light on the subject in the place that they were, and it takes you out of it immediately because your brain knows that that's not right.
Right.
So they used basically deep fake to do a face replacement and then do the lighting in-house that matched the lighting on the set to get a much better representation of what it would have been.
Yeah, it's crazy the kind of stuff they can do with deepfake now.
Yeah. Dawn of the Beast trailer teases a bloody Bigfoot versus Wendigo showdown.
Fuck yes.
For as many years as Bigfoot has been a prevalent figure in pop culture, we have yet to get a truly great studio-produced feature about the creature, but low-budget entries continue to pop up from time to time, taking a crack at bringing the beast to life effectively. In this case, Bigfoot will be squaring off against another mythological creature, namely the Wendigo. This is a 2-for-1 deal in that regard. As we can see from the trailer, the filmmakers are trying to accomplish a whole lot with relatively little in terms of financial resources at their disposal. The trailer opens up with a woman trying on a necklace that she seems quite fond of, when we then see a man having what he thought would be a peaceful smoke break out in the woods at night, but a strange creature makes some unnerving noises off in the distance, and it's not long before the creature interrupts their pleasant evening. When they cut to a group of students who are studying all things cryptozoology. There are skeptics among them, but believers who live near the woods. As one might guess, the believers were right, and there is more than one threat lurking among the trees. So far as these things go, it looks impressive enough at moments given the apparent budget constraints. Whether or not they can pull all of the pieces together and turn this into an all-around entertaining movie is the big question.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, there's a trailer out. You can just type in official trailer Dawn of the Beast and watch that. YouTube has pulled 30,000 videos for making false claims about COVID-19 vaccines. This kind of goes on a YouTube is a platform. It is not necessarily an avenue of free speech if that free speech is endangering to other people. That goes against every terms of service for content creation that is out there. So if you're not putting out, appropriate and correct information, they have the right to take your videos down. I fully support this.
Yeah, me too.
Conspiracy theories are one thing, but misinformation is another. If you're not doing your research and not providing proper sources for information that have been, checked and double checked, then they have every right to take your video down.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And that's it. I'm going to skip the Apple one because I read it wrong. Originally, I thought it said Sue's 11-year-old veteran MacBook designer, but it's just 11-year veteran MacBook designer for allegedly stealing trade secrets for a journalist. It's corporate espionage at its best. I at least got to say the words corporate espionage.
Which is all you really wanted to do.
Is all I really wanted to do. It's a thing that happens and still happens in business. You sign NDAs, and big surprise when you break that, somebody fucking sues you for it. That's how it works. So yeah, that wraps us up. It sounds like your daughter is there.
No, she's not here yet. Her mom texted me that they're on their way, though.
Okay. So that's going to wrap us up for this week. If you have any questions or comments or you'd like to hear yourself on air, you can call us at 978-DU-OGRES. That's 978-386-4737. You can also reach us on Twitter at Dueling Ogres, email us at duelingogres@gmail.com, or leave a comment on the Facebook page like these nice people. Brandon, go.
We had 2 comments this week. The first one is from the Diamond Man, Stephen Hines, who says, "The only hacking that I do involves mucus throat oysters," which is super gross. Thank you, Stephen. Great episode, dudes. Thanks for the shout out for Rebirth Defect. Also, new Dueling Ogres t-shirt idea, pantsless and mocking God.
I kind of love it, not going to lie.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And then our other comment is from Viscount Terry W. Irvin II, who says, good episode. With the CD Projekt Red source code stolen after ransomware attack and some of it purchased on the dark web for $7 million, the Dueling Ogres asked how it could be used. Basically copyright violations. It shows up in Wham. Wondering about your thoughts along the lines that entitles in China pretty much ignore such concerns. So they may be able to utilize the source code for a profit. Isn't it already a major problem with China stealing intellectual property? Yes.
And yeah, it is. And there's a lot of people that are like, even to the point of what some people don't understand. Like, I've gotten into like product creation through like Redbubble and stuff. I haven't done a whole lot of designs, but I've been wanting to kind of get into that as kind of a turnkey side hustle operation. And you'll see a lot of these stores will publish a design that utilizes another person's intellectual property. And you can't do that and they'll get shut down a lot of times. But there are others that are like based out of China and stuff that just put stuff on shirts. And this is the same thing, just at a different scale, where, there's just no repercussion for it because the laws just don't apply.
They just don't care.
Yeah, they just don't care. There's no way of hitting it. So yeah, definitely on the right track there, Terry.
Terry is a very learned man. That sounded sarcastic, but it was not sarcastic.
He knows.
I respect Terry quite a bit.
All right. Thank you guys so much for the comments. We always appreciate that. Anybody else, please feel free to hit us up on any of the socials and leave a comment so we can read you out. Make sure to subscribe on our website at duelingogres.com for new shows and articles pertaining to some of your favorite geek news. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, or find us on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Audible, anywhere you can find a podcast. Where we are literally everywhere. Finally, I would like to thank all of the patrons: Jenny James, Ryan, Tatiana, Larry Mumphrey, the Reverend Diamond Man, Stephen Hines, Real Fat Tony, Heavy No More, Chad, and Bucky. Love you all. Thank you so much for continuing to support us. It really means a lot, even when we are a little light on episodes. Love you all for it. Appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, it's very much appreciated. It's just nice to know that people out there support us.
Yep. And, there are some of them who don't even, like, I don't know the last time that Tony listened to an episode, but he still just gives us $5 every month.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the love of friendship, and it means so much.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Yeah, that wraps us up. So until next week, Ogres, keep your clubs blunt.
And your tusks sharp.
Good night.
I'm trying to get this energy.
Try to find it. You gotta try to find the energy, Morty.
I must reach deep down inside myself.
That's
to
gross.
The cockles.
Oh,
maybe
right,
the subcockles.
Whoa, Brandon. Nobody talks about the subcockles.
Maybe even to the colon.
Exclamation point.
I'm surprised you didn't get the Dennis Leary reference.
I'm surprised I didn't either.
From the song I'm an Asshole.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
I can quote most of it. I don't know if I would get it right, though. It's been a long time since I've heard it. Been a long-ass time, Brandon.
It's been a long time. A motherfucking long time.
All right. Script. Recording has started. Where's my script?
That was a beautiful melodic yawn.
Thank you. It was to the tune of Fleur de Lis, roughly.
Fleur de Lis.
Fleur de yawn. I don't even know what that means.
I don't even know what that means.
Oh my god, there's so many things.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
I don't know how to spell translation, apparently.
Translation. Exclamation. Everybody participate in masturbation.
Oh, I guess it's Fear, Elise.
Fleur.
Fear. It's,
Fear.
yeah, it's German.
Fear.
Yeah. 25 in A minor is rarely referred to in such grandiose terms. Instead, all who know and love it refer it to simply by its nickname Fear Elise, which is German for Elise.
Oh.
But it's a nickname that frankly should never have existed. Beethoven did indeed include a dedication in the manuscript, but it was for Therese, not for Elise. Ha! And now you know.
And as far as the battle goes, knowing is half of it.
We need a word.
Give me 1 second. Let me see what the word of the day is on dictionary.com. Avant-garde.
All right. There'll be literally nothing avant-garde about this episode, but we'll use it anyway.
Avant-garde. Avant-garde.
Avant-garde. That's how you say it, right?
Avant-garde.
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 Oh.
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 I got a large buzz. Fluent Forever. Spring forward with this $10 deal from Fluent Forever. Get 3 months for the price of one. Spring forward, just $10 for 3 months. Wow, this is a fucking email right here. What is Fluent Forever? I don't think I've ever even used this. Just because I like languages. I assume that's what it's for. All right, sorry.
You're getting distracted again.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's do this. Ready? 1, 2, 3, titties. I'm sorry. Man titties.
Man titties. I don't know.
No, it was nothing new. My brain just stopped there halfway through that.
No, I thought you were asking me, and I'm like, how the fuck in the world, in 100,000 years, would I know why you went to Ginger's mom's house?
Infrasound. Fuck, that's hard to say. Hold on, let me redo that.
Infrasound?
That can be picked up by seismic instruments in the area. The wave itself can be detected by infrasound stations, which are low frequency sound that can travel over great distances.
What kind of sound was that again, Remington?
Infrasound. Listen, it's all gonna be cut. It's all gonna be cut out in post, you bastard. I'm gonna fix all of that, and it'll be in the outtakes, so you can all hear me struggle on saying infrasound. Infrasound.